everybody. We've missed one day out, but I'm back again. And Ros is with me as well. But before we start, I'd just like to say that this afternoon I have received final confirmation from the Guinness World Record, the book of Guinness World Record, that I've now officially been recognised as the oldest male wrestler in the world. But that's for a year ago, so I've got another year to add to that. But I've got to tell you, the process is very long-winded and very, very intense. I mean, the only thing they didn't ask me about in the last one was my inside leg measurement. But they might do that this time, of course, just to make sure I haven't grown something. So I'm going to go down that route again and claim another year, because, of course, they've got me at 83 and now I'm 84, the last time I did it. So we're going to go down the process again. Ros does most of the paperwork. I just take the measurements. So let's get on with it. So over to Ros now for our little question session. Hi, Ros.
Hello there. Right, here we go. Another excellent question from Totes #1 fan forever. As a heel, how did you handle the hate from the fans? Did it ever make you angry? Did the fans ever get into your head, or did the hate ever get to you?
Well, I mean, in all honesty, of course, as a villain, it's the hate that you want, isn't it? I suppose what would really get to you if they liked you. So, no, the hate never got to me. The more the merrier. I couldn't stand being liked too much. That was a disaster. And it never got to me, and because that's what Kendo was about, wasn't it? It wasn't about being Mr. Nice Guy, no more Mr. Nice Guy with Kendo Nagasaki. That's not what we were there for. The more hate, the better. And it never got to me, though. It's what we did. So basically, that's that one.
Right you are. Who did you most like and most dislike working a match with? And that's a question from Stokes Trains.
Well, it's not individuals, is it? It's a sort of type of person. I mean, the ones that were the easiest and you probably most like were the Steve Eros, even the Albert Walls and people like that, because it was very easy to do your job with these people. They were good at what they did, and the crowd liked them. So it was easy for me to get over in that way. We call it getting over. If you establish your character and the audience realise what you're doing, we call it getting over, establishing yourself. So that type of character, people like Colin Johnson, all those sorts of people were not necessarily easy in a physical way, but easy to establish who Kendo was and who they were, as what we call baby faces now. So that was really, and the more difficult ones were the sort of in-betweeners. If you're ever put on with the likes of A-Stacks, maybe, and Skull Murphy, people like that, the audience are a bit mixed then, aren't they? Not quite sure. I mean, and it's more difficult for some villains to do that, get over, than it was for me, because there was so much hatred on Kendo that even the Stacks was a babyface when he was on with Kendo. I mean, he used to complain that Kendo was turning him into a babyface and ruining his gimmick. I mean, I've had Max Crabtree come into the dressing room and say, bloody hell, kid, he's in that dressing room now, moaning like so-and-so about you turning him into a babyface. He said, how the hell do you turn a 40-stone man into a babyface? He said, but you seem to have done it. And the Stacks did used to moan quite a bit about being me ruining his gimmick, really, because he was the big villain, wasn't he? That was his game. But when he was on with me, he wasn't a villain. They wanted the Stacks to beat me, didn't they? So he had to go babyface for the night. It was a funny sort of babyface, but nevertheless, that's what he did. So I think that more or less, it's not individuals, it's types of characters, really. It's more difficult if you've got as I say, it didn't happen with me because I could turn what was potentially the biggest villain in the job other than me into a babyface. So I didn't find it difficult. If they were more equal and the audience couldn't make their mind up, very difficult then. Which side were they going to take? It made it difficult for the... They didn't settle down, really. It was always a bit dull. But I never found that as a problem because I could always establish Kendo as a villain. Because he was a villain, wasn't he? Bit of a bugger, really.
Righto, thank you. And now a question from Neil Clark 1681. Who was your physically strongest opponent?
Physically strongest? Well, to be honest, I don't know how strong they were. I mean, I never went into the gym on the weights with any of these people. Are we talking about that, or are we talking about strong wrestlers? I mean, Billy Robinson obviously was the strongest wrestler, but it wouldn't necessarily be the strongest person. There might have been others out there that were stronger than him. We didn't have the knowledge that he had. Who were the strongest wrestlers in the job? As I say, I've never been in the gym with people. I mean, I suppose people like Danny Lynch allegedly could do a decent bench press and things like that, but I've never trained with these people, so I couldn't tell you how strong they were or they weren't. I was always trained on my own after I became a pro wrestler, as far as weightlifting was concerned. So I never had the opportunity to find out how strong they were or they weren't. I've gone to a few professional weightlifting gyms. When I came back the second time, I went to a gym in South London, and it wasn't long before I was beating, as far as bench press and things like that were concerned, the people there could bench press more than they could. But then I've always been a strong individual. But I couldn't tell you. It was, no. Difficult one to answer, really. Don't know.
Okay. And now a question from Midex Mail 9692. Are there any wrestlers from the TV shows, say 1975 onwards, that you didn't get on with? Did any try to take liberties with you in the ring, and what was the outcome? And how about bust-ups in the dressing room and the reasons why between the World of Sport boys?
Well, I've already told you some of the people I didn't get on with, but they mainly didn't get on with me. You know, I never sort of feared these people. There wasn't anybody, the only person that you could sort of have to, if fear comes into, was probably our friend Billy again, because he was the most dynamic and dangerous person around until he went away in 1967. And then you got, you know, as I've said before, the hard lads that you had to just watch. You didn't do anything that upset them because they could be a bit nasty if need be. But we never crossed swords in that way, use the metaphor. I always got on with most people of that category. The ones I didn't get on with, the ones that got a bit cocky and thought they were better than they really were. And it didn't take much trouble to put them into place. And I've really told you they are already. You know, I'm not going to repeat it again. I mean, as I said, they were normally people that didn't really cut the mustard when it came down to it. They soon backed down when they were challenged. I mean, the type of people that wouldn't back down, you're not daft enough to challenge, are you? You know, your animal instincts tell you, well, don't bother, don't go there. So I think you've got to take that into consideration as well. You know, you don't challenge somebody that's, you know, is going to be a real endanger outside of the ring in some way. You have to have a bit of sense about it, don't you? We've all got, you know, that preservation thing, haven't we? And so have they, because they don't fall out with me either. So it's a sort of truce, isn't it, between these people? They don't fall out with each other because they know it could be mischievous, dangerous, or a bit of a mess. As far as dressing room brawls are concerned, I've never seen one, to be honest. I've never seen behind the scenes anybody what you would call brawling, fighting. I haven't. So I think that the lid was, as far as we were concerned, during the World of Sports years, in the dressing rooms I was in, it may have happened when I wasn't there, I don't know. But when I was there, I've never seen any of those top lads fall out in that way, except Billy. And I've told you before, he did smack Albert Wall round the face and knock Lee and Harris out. So Billy would do it. And as far as that type of thing is concerned, that's the only thing I ever saw. I never saw Uncle Les or anybody else do. I mean, he had the reputation, but I never saw him do anything. So, no, they didn't fall out with each other. And a lot of the time, of course, when I became rather top of the bill, I had my own dressing room. So I didn't actually mix that much with the general. If there was more than one dressing room or two, I had my own dressing room. Because I always had an entourage, didn't I? I had people with me. And, so it wasn't always better for me to have my own dressing room. And I did in lots of cases. Especially towards the end, in the Dixon era and things like that, I very much had my own way with things. Going back to the sort of the late 60s, I used the big dressing room. But as I got more and more gravity, I became more demanding, really. And I got what I wanted. So I think that answers that, don't you?
Right. Quite an extended question from Jeffrey Stout, 5814. Did you and referees agree when you should get public warnings when you did your villainous tricks? Did any referees get it wrong and accidentally DQ you, or lose count of public warnings, or generally do something which you didn't expect? And there's another part regarding Max Ward. Referee Max Ward was a larger-than-life character whose presence loomed large in the wrestling ring. Do you have any stories of working with him?
Yeah, well, referees no, we didn't arrange in the dressing room when you get public warnings, and they never lost count. More than the job was worth, wasn't it? And I've told you about one referee that did disqualify me, and that ended up badly for everybody, because it could be very inconvenient, to say the least. So, no, I never had a referee disqualify me when they weren't supposed to. And I did do disqualifications later on when I was doing the run-outs with the stacks and things like that. That's much later on in my career. So, no, they never lost count. Max Wall, yeah, interesting character, our Max. Max used to be very worried, because Max was sort of referee that liked to be liked by the public. And he used to go sit in the dressing room. Sometimes he'd say to me, "Don't drop me in it," because I could easily drop him in it, couldn't I? Because he couldn't disqualify me. So if I went too strong and did too many things and didn't sort of put him over in a certain way, he could come out there with the audience hating him. He didn't want that. So when he used to tell me off, I used to back off and put my hands over my ears as if I was frightened of hearing what he got to say. And I worked with him like that to make him feel good. And if you look at some of the show, he comes right in my face like that and says, I'll tell you a funny story about him, though, one night. And I was on with Steve Vader, would you believe? Our Steve. And we're doing it. I've got Steve in a hold, and Max is saying, "Break, break, break." And he came in really close. I didn't realise how close. I sort of back-elbowed him like that. I don't know if you all know, but he had a glass eye. He was blind in one eye, had a glass eye. And suddenly he shouts, he swore actually, he said, "My effing eyes come out. Don't move." So Steve and I are locked in this embrace while Max is looking around the ring to find his eye. He don't want us to move because we kick it out. And then, I mean, he scrummaged around. It wasn't on the television, this was an only show. He scrummaged around for a bit because we could keep out of the way because it's not a TV show, while he had a look round. We never found it. And then eventually he came out and said, "I can't find it." So we carried on, did the show. He went out, when we'd won, he went out and got, because he carried more than one eye, didn't he? So the next match, I believe, he must have popped a new eye in. But I don't remember the eye ever being found, to be honest. But there was a hell of a panic when he went out. Max was scurrying around like a scalded cockerel trying to find this eye. So there you are. That's the funniest thing I can really remember about our Max. Must have been a nuisance, wasn't it? I think he could see just as well, though, even without it. So there you go.
Right. A question from Andrew Bloomfield. E5I. Who did you wrestle in Japan? Was Shozo Kobayashi as good a wrestler or shooter as we were led to believe? Was he in the same league as Inoki?
Do you know, I find it very difficult to remember the people I wrestled in Japan. You've got to remember, I was new to the Japanese scene. A lot of the people I wrestled out there were quite new in the business because it was a new promotion when I went there. It wasn't so well established. Kobayashi, as we call him, he was a big lad, a very big lad. I mean, he must have been about 6'4" and a very heavy built lad. I've worked with him several times, and whether he was a good shooter or not, I don't know. I've no idea. I've never been on the mat with him, as we call it, pulling round, never have. But when he was working with me, he was, call it working, he was a younger guy, wasn't he? He was young. I've got pictures of him with me in the ring with him when I was in Japan. So he was young and he was what we would call green. He was learning the job. So he was sort of trying to please me, I would have said, to make sure that I didn't get annoyed or whatever. So he was really working for me as well as for himself. I don't know if he was a good wrestler, what you're now going to call shooter or not. He may well have been. I really don't know. But I never had any difficulties with him. He was always very, and outside of the ring, in the dressing room, he was extremely polite towards me, both when he was here and in Japan. Very, very Japanese in his politeness. So I can't go any further than that, really. I don't know.
Right. Did you ever fight Honey Boy Zimba or Masambula?
Yeah, yes, I've never fought them, but I've been in the ring with them professionally. Masam was a funny character. He's a bit sort of strange in his movements and things like that. But he was easy to work with because the audience really liked him. They really liked him. He came in with a leopard's head, I think, on his head. Did his war dance, didn't he? And he did that movement like that as he came towards you. So there was lots of little things that you could react to with Masam without having to do an awful lot of chucking him about or anything like that. And as I say, the audience, when he did his sort of war, I don't know if it was a war dance or it was some sort of, it wasn't quite a Billy Two Rivers war dance, but he did a strange movement which meant he was coming for you. And if you worked towards that, it made the job really easy. I suppose I only wrestled him about 10, 12 times. Honey Boy. Because I wrestled Zimmer a few times. When he was only young, when he first came into business, I had Honey Boy Zimmer when he was really green. Didn't know an awful lot, and I had to carry him really to start with because although you could get him over as a baby face, as I remember it, his comebacks were very weak and he didn't have an established character. When I worked with him, it wasn't like going in with Masam because Masam had an established character. Masam was established before I came in the job, so he was easy. The audience knew what to expect. Honey Boy was new. I think he came in after I did, and the audience didn't know quite what to make of him. So he was trying to get over as a baby face, and they didn't think, the audience didn't think he was any threat to me. So in lots of ways, it was difficult to make it look like he was going to do anything. So it was a rather difficult job because Zimba never looked like he was going to beat me or could beat me. But Masam was a different kettle of fish because he had all the history to go behind him. So that's basically it. They are different in their way and how you have to deal with them.
Thank you. That was from Peter Barber, UN3YZ. And we have another one from Timothy Cross, F4J. What are your thoughts on and experience of Jimmy Breaks?
Jimmy Breaks? Well, I've never been in the ring with Jimmy Breaks. I believe he's a very good amateur wrestler. He was certainly very good in the ring, in the professional ring. He had a lot of little characteristics the audience latched onto as a villain. And he was a bit of a comedian. when we did Send in the Girls, he was on that, he used to torment the stacks. And there was a little bit of behind the scenes torment going on. He used to take the mickey out of the stacks. I've seen the stacks try to swipe him one a couple of times, but missed him. I think they were only playing, but Jim played up to him and the stacks played up to this idea that Jim was a bit of a nuisance. But Jim was a very funny, he could tell good jokes as well, would you believe? He was very funny telling jokes. One I remember him telling about Gargantua being on the dockside when they're catching a boat to somewhere, and some new young wrestler came and said something to him that he didn't like. And according to Jim, you could hear Gargantua's voice boom out, "Fuck off and stop bothering me." And Jimmy tells it in a funny way. He says that women were grabbing children and getting them out of the way because Gargantua, about 6'6", of course, a big guy, and you got this booming in the fog. Jim tells it far better than me. There's fog and children and all this, and this voice comes out of the fog because his head's in the fog. Jim tells it really funny. I can't tell anything like him. So he was a good teller of tales. But that was one of the funniest I ever heard him tell. I don't know where they were going to. I think going to somewhere, either in Ireland or somewhere like that, early one morning, and they were all a bit sort of sleep deprived. Gargantua didn't want to be mithered, and he told this wrestler where to go. But of course there were other people getting on the boat, weren't there? And this booming voice of this very large, ugly man came out, frightened everybody to death. But Jim told it extremely well. I can't do half as good. Anyway, everybody, I think that winds it up for today, don't you, Ross?
Yes, that's
another. We'll have another go later on. Mm-hmm. See what you think about it. So once again, from Ross and myself, cheerio for now.